ancient Celts used the phrase thin places to describe times in life when heaven and earth seem very near one another. The Irish call thin places those moments when we feel connected to God at the deepest level of our being. Our lives are often changed forever by the discoveries and the choices we make in these thin places.
By the holiest of kings, for this time and place, you have offered me your grace, and I am as a servant to the throne. God, I will fulfill your calling. God, I live for you alone.
Hey guys, this is Chip. In 1999, I went on a trip out to Oklahoma City. We decided to take about 40 guys out there because the town of Moore, Oklahoma had just been ravaged by tornadoes. When we got there, it was an incredible sight, something I'd never witnessed before in my life. The landscape was just completely devastated. People just searching for their houses, looking for a street sign of where they used to live, of what life used to be for them. There was a lady sitting there, and she'd lost her husband up in the funnel. I'd never been a part of somebody's story who'd actually lost a loved one in a tornado. Guy walks up to me and he said, look, he said, you guys from out of town, obviously, and are you here to help us? We said, yeah. And I said, well, what do you have? He said, well, I've got a church. And he said, it's not going to hold service on Sunday unless you guys can go out there and possibly re-roof it. But there was one catch. It was in the middle of nowhere, 3 hours away from any food, any water, anybody to help. Something about that really made me nervous. You know, I'm a firm believer of faith, but to go out there in the middle of nowhere 3 hours away with no food and water, when the mercury's going up to 100 degrees on a roof in Oklahoma in the dead of summer, doesn't make sense. One of my brothers, Clarence Hill, you know, he said, faith, brother, it's just all about faith, man. And I said, well, I get that, Clarence, but there's something about it that's not logical. And he said, but dude, God's never about logic. It's always about being illogical and having him show up in your life to do something that otherwise would never happen. He's in control. So the next day we loaded up the van and we piled everything in that thing we could think of. 15 guys on the way by map to a place we'd never been. 3 hours later we arrived. Church was there, roof was gone, town gone completely. I was the first on the roof. I wanted to be up at the top and I wanted to be able to see the whole countryside of what had happened. And I kept going, we'll never have enough food or enough water to supply us for this day, much less the week. But out of the corner of my eye, I'll never forget it. Across the countryside, I see this figure, and he's just walking straight for where we were at the church. I don't know where he came from. He walked up into the churchyard and he said, you guys roofing the church for the week? We said, yeah, we are. He said, you from where? We said, well, we're from North Carolina. Gonna be here all week? We're all gonna be here all week. He said, do you have any food and water? I thought that was a pretty interesting question, since it was the one thing we were gonna be missing. And of course, I took the liberty of looking over the side of the church and I said, we don't have any food and water. He said, well, do you see the old oak tree down at the bottom of the hill and this long dirt road and this huge oak tree beside this stream of water? And we all looked that way and there it was. And he said, at about 3 o'clock, there's going to be this truck's going to pull in. It's going to have everything you need. It'll have all the food, all the water, even a bathroom facility. You'll see a white tent. And all you have to do is just walk down this road and they'll give you everything you need. Part of me didn't believe it. But he turned around and he walked back in the same direction that he came. I find it interesting that not one of us on this roof ever asked him his name, where he came from, or where he was going. But he disappeared in the same direction. About 2:55, I reminded Clarence of his faith. Hey Clarence, I said, you think that water's really going to show up? He says, brother, it's only 5 more minutes. This truck's going to be here. It's just faith, brother. Just believe. Okay, so maybe another 5 minutes went by, maybe 3 o'clock straight up, no truck. I kept looking. About 2 minutes after 3, I heard a sound of a truck. And it was at the bottom of the hill. It pulled in beside this huge old oak tree, just like this guy said. They put out a white tent, had bathroom facilities. They were cooking. You could smell the food. You could even see the water reservoirs that they put up, ice cold. We're in the middle of nowhere. Clarence turned around to me and he said, "Hey brother, it's all about faith. You with me?" And I'm not sure if I was up until that point. We crawled off the roof. We walked down this old dirt road. I decided to find the lady that was in charge. I said, "I have a question." She said, "Yes, can I help you?" I said, "There was this guy about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours ago. He came from this direction over here, across the countryside. He walked up into the churchyard. We re-roofing the church right up the street." She said, "Yes, I can see that." I said, "Well, this guy said that you would be here right at 3 o'clock. I said, "Could you tell me who he is?" She said, "I don't know what you're talking about." "Well, wait a minute. About 5 hours ago, you see, no, I heard you, but he's not with us." "What do you mean?" "Well, he wouldn't know we were going to be here." "Why is that?" "Well, because only 30 minutes ago, my driver decided to reroute to this location, and we're here now for this community. But an hour ago, we didn't even know we were going to be here. So he couldn't tell you that 5 hours ago." "No, you don't understand. He was here." "I understand. But he's not with us." And you see, I wonder about faith in general. I wonder how much faith do we have in the seen and the unseen, these thin places where the supernatural world and the natural world collide. I mean, who was this guy? Where'd he come from? What was his name? To this day, I still don't know his name. I've never seen him again, but I can tell you this. For 7 days, every day we were there, we had all the food and all the water we ever wanted and never planned on it. Listen, if you don't remember anything else that I told you, remember this. God comes in all kinds of forms in our life. He could come in a burning bush. He could come in a pillar of fire. He can even come in as a man coming across the landscape. What about you? Have you ever experienced anything quite like that? Such a thin place? I invite you to be a part of this journey with me. I think you're going to really enjoy the ride.
By the